This is the 12th game of the World Championship 1986 between Kasparov and Karpov. Queen's Gambit declined d55. Kasparov playing white, Karpov playing black. e4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop e7, knight f3, knight f6, g5, h6, bishop into f6, bishop into f6, e3, Karpov castles, rook c1, c6, bishop d3, knight d7, Kasparov castles, d into c4, bishop into c4, c5. c5 is a nice move. A novelty, one does not expect the c pawn to be moved twice within 4 moves in the opening. To do this with the black pieces, Karpov must have prepared and come ready with a deep plan for development. Queen e2, a6, rook f d1, c into d4, knight into d4. Really, in such positions, instead of knight into d4, e into d4 is played, with the possibility of d4 d5 at the right moment. After the last move, knight d4, queen e7, knight e4, bishop e5. Karpov is not going to part with his bishop so early. Knight f3. More in return with Kasparov's style would be, let us go back and see. Instead of knight f3, f4, bishop b8, queen h5, knight f6, queen h4, knight d5, queen g3. Perhaps he want to content to close over to Leningrad with his 1 point lead. Kasparov is at this point leading 1 point match, and he from next game onwards it will be played in Leningrad. The first 12 games are played in London. Second half of the match will be played in Leningrad. That is the rule laid down by FIDE. Now let us go back, and the last move played is knight f3, bishop b8, queen d2. Queen d2 is a very good move. b5, bishop e2, knight f6. Knight f6 is also a very good move. If instead of a knight f6, let us go back and see. Bishop b7, queen into d7, queen into d7, rook into d7, bishop into e4, knight d2, bishop g6, bishop f3, rook a7, rook into a7, bishop into a7, rook c6. Let us go back. The last move played is knight f6. Knight into f6. Knight into f6 is a dubious move. Instead of that, let us see another variation. Knight c5, rook a7. Instead of rook a7, e5. Let us see this combination. e5 instead of rook a7, e5, queen c2, bishop g4, h3. Or after rook a7, let us go back and see. Or after rook a7, knight d4, rook c7, knight d b3. Let us go back. Last move played is the dubious knight into f6. White has better chances on the queen side thanks to the black square weakness of black. Another variation that we have already seen with better chances for white. So now queen into f6, queen d4, bishop b7. Bishop b7 is an excellent move. Why? Because black does not mind in shattering his kingside pawn structure, as he is confident that his two bishops will contain the greater activity of white pieces. Queen into f6, so that black pawn structure will be spoiled as we foretold. G into f6, b3. Instead of b3, if knight d4, bishop e5, followed by f5. Or instead of knight d4, let us see another combination. Instead of knight d4, knight e1, bishop e5, knight d3, rook a c8. Let us go back. The last move played is b3, f5, g3, bishop into f3, bishop into f3, rook a7, rook c6, king g7, bishop e2. Instead of bishop e2, if rook d c1, let us go back and see. Instead of bishop e2, rook d c1, doubling the rooks, bishop e5, rook b6, rook b8 is equal. So let us go back and see. The last move played is bishop e2, bishop e5, h3, bishop f6, rook d d6, rook f a8, king g2, bishop e7, rook d2, b4, g4, f into g4, h into g4, a5, f4, rook d8, rook into d8. After bishop into rook 8, the position is 100% equal. Both the players are having 5 pawns, 1 bishop and 1 rook. So they agreed for a draw. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your time. Please subscribe so that you can see all the 24 games of this championship and many more great games of Bobby Fischer shortly. Thanks for watching once again.